of this height function, this random surface here. And let me be a little more precise now what I really mean by this height function and how it's related actually to the diamonds or to the times here. So there are some specific rules which tells you what to do. So I put the height 0 here. And if I cross like a diamond like this with a white vertex to the right, then I go up by 3. If I cross like this, where there is no dimer, and I have a white vertex to the left, I go up by 1. But if the white vertex is to the right, I go down by 1. Similarly, of course, if I cross the dimer in the other direction, like it changes, then I have to go down by -3. So the steps are always ±1 and ±3, depending on whether you don't or do cross the dimer. So this is what I've written here. So if you start here, you can just go through and you see that these definitions are consistent when you go around the points like this. So in this way, you see we can associate with this random tiling or this dimer configuration these heights which fit on the faces of this graph. And of course, you can go the other way around, but if you have this type of height function which satisfies certain restrictions, and due to this you can go back and recover the time. So the two periodic aspect dimer that I briefly mentioned, so I showed you some picture of, this is a different choice of weights now. So in the following way, that all the edges that go around this square here, they will have weight. All the edges that are around this square have weight A, and then 1 and so on. You see, in this way, so this would have weight A, this would have weight 1, and so on. So in this way, I get this sort of two periodic structure in the weight. So this is a different choice of weight than we had for the sort of standard aspect diamond that I was talking about in the previous talk. So here's so of course, I mean, the definition here of the height has nothing to do with the weight. Given any diamond configuration, I have this surface. Discrete surface. So if you do a simulation then for this two periodic tiling, so here's a sample from this. So you still have these sort of flat pieces here. And you have this which is sort of curved here. And here is this kind of edge we were discussing again. If you look, you can see it sort of looks flat here, but not completely flat. So maybe it's a little clearer in this picture here. So here's the flat piece. Here you have these sort of curves that we saw in the previous. So here we should expect to see this airy process, yeah. But here you hit something which looks flat, but has some sort of density in it. And it seems to be some kind of boundary here, but it's less clear what it is than this one. Here, what is the microscopic boundary, so to say, is very clear. I go from this completely flat, and I see the first dislocation, something different. Right? Whereas here, it's much less clear when do I go from this sort of curved things and these things that look like long paths to this sort of disordered part here. It is not so obvious. Right? You can also imagine that if I take a really large one, there is a limiting shape here. Right? This would be the macroscopic limit shape of this surface. And this is a solution to a certain variation of problem. So this is a sort of typical situation. I mean, the limit shapes themselves are also very interesting. I mean, there is to understand the macroscopic shapes. I mean, they could be described by some variation of problem or some PDE or something like that. I mean, to compute the macroscopic limit shape is generally a hard problem. So, and of course, as I emphasized in the last talk, I mean, we really need to know to some extent the macroscopic shape also, right? Because the geometry that will decide what type of limiting behavior I can see and where I can see. This is similar to random matrix theory. I mean, I have to know the global distribution of the eigenvalues so that I know am I in the bulk or at the edge or outside the spectrum. So I need some information about the global structure also. So I will not sort of, so this is an interesting problem in itself, this variational problem. It has this form. I have some surface tension depending on the details of the model here. And I have sort of a gradient variational problem. So the gradient of the height function and evaluate this surface tension there. I integrate over sort of the region that I have, and I infinite over all these candidate height functions for the bound of the Lipschitz constant here. And this bound are sort of these limiting slopes that correspond to these flat pieces. So I hit these upper constraints and upper and lower constraints at these sort of frozen parts. So the limit shape itself is sort of like a free boundary here, which is not a priori determined. It depends on the choice of the boundary condition or which region I have here. But you can see if you go back here, the heights along the boundary are deterministic. So the shape here of the aspect diamond determines what the height function is at the boundary. So this is sort of given. But what happens inside, of course, depends on the particular tiling here, or the particular diamond covering I have. So there is an interesting theory around these sort of limit shapes here. representation then of these two periodic aspect diamonds. Here you see quite clearly that there is this flat part in the center of the height function. Here it corresponds to this curved part. Here are these sort of completely flat pieces. And you can see that there are these sort of, it seems to be like these curves here. And this curve here is quite well defined, and this also looks quite clear. But if you look locally here, it's not so clear what is actually this curve here. So the interest in this model is that we have this kind of boundary, which is similar to what we saw before, but we also have this boundary here, so this is not completely flat region here. So actually there are three types of faces. So if you would look at it microscopically, there are what's called Gibbs measures, which describes the local structure of the tiling for these diamond models here. And they come in three types, which are called gas, liquid, and solid. There's nothing to do with gas, liquid, and solid, which we see around us, but just names here. Right? And Kenyon and Kunkov, they have characterized all the possible Gibbs measures that you can get in this type of models, and they come in three types, which are called solid, liquid, and gas. And you can describe them by sort of limiting infinite Tesla matrices, which sort of describe the infinite tiling of the whole plane with this type of faces. So there are sort of solid type inverse, infinite inverse Tesla matrix, liquid type, and gas type. And the difference, you can see the difference between these types of faces in how the diamonds or dominants decorrelate. So in the liquid phase, they are relatively strongly correlated, and the correlation between different diamonds decay as 1 over distance squared. Whereas in this gas phase that we have in the middle here, they decay exponentially. So this is much more disordered, which you somehow could see in the picture also. Right? So you see here in the liquid field you have this sort of connected long-range structure, whereas here it's much more local. Here in the solid it's sort of completely correlated. Right? So as I said, in this model, we have two types of boundaries. We have boundaries between the gas and the liquid region and between the liquid and the solid region. So if you believe this universality, and remember what I said in the last talk, I mean, certainly here at this boundary, we should see just the area process again. This is what you would expect. But what happens here? I mean, here the boundary is not so clear, but it is still true that we have some kind of area process in the limit there. So this is an example, you could say, of a universality question. How does this result extend to this new type of boundary? I was arguing that these type of limits that I described are universal in some sense. So do they apply here? So this is not sort of a broad universality question. It's going to a somewhat different type of models with a different structure and asking, do I still see the same limits here? So this is a sort of a step towards universality to see how far can we in different concrete examples extend this theory. Yeah. Yeah, you would expect it to be the same when you have this kind of going from a solid to liquid phase. The boundary between this should always be given by this area process within a reasonable. Here, presumably, if we can understand it in this specific model, this will be the natural